Governor Newsom says he is fed up. There are no more excuses. He says the state has done its part, providing plenty of funding to get encampments cleared up. He wants to see the results now. Governor Newsom made the announcement here in Los Angeles yesterday. He joined Caltrans to clear several encampment sites.
And we had our big body challenge today. 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups to try to get under 5 minutes. How'd you go? We got close. I was about 5:25. You were right behind me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat, our Thursday media Inanity show. Thank you for hanging in there. We are normally like so crazy punctual. Pat, how are you holding up? Are you like an OCD shock? Or are you okay?
Nah, I'm okay.
I know that's rough.
Without the beer, I would probably be stressed, but I'm over it. We're good. And I'm happy we got our friend Tina joining us here in a minute.
We're so excited.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, but I feel like I think we should try to bring her on because I don't think her technical difficulties are gonna get much better from what we can tell, right? And we can't really talk to her until she's back up on screen. So I think we should maybe just do it and see.
Yeah, let's bring her on. We'll have her on audio unless something magically switches, but I think
she's having camera issues, but we're so excited to welcome back to the show Miss Tina-Desiree Berg.
Hello.
Friend of the show, friend in real life. How are you? Except for frustrated.
I'm frustrated because I don't know what's going on with my camera. It says it's being blocked by some software thing and I cannot figure it out. So I apologize for
okay,
this.
I'm sorry. I know how frustrating that is. It's incredibly frustrating.
Do you have an Israeli VPN?
Yeah.
You know what? Could it be my VPN? I do have a VPN.
Possibly.
Every time Pat says something about Epstein, he freezes and they boot him.
That is weird. Maybe that's what it is. And then I edited. Okay, I uploaded a photo and even that's not working. I don't know what's happening.
All right. Well, I know it stinks. Everybody would love to see your gorgeous face, but we have a lot of your materials and your brilliant mind here. So we'll be able to still talk about everything. But I know it's not as much fun, and I'm really sorry.
No, it's just bizarre to be like, I don't know.
The only other thing is if you wanted to try from your phone, but then you might not feel as comfortable, but then we'd be able to see you. Do you want to try?
No, I'm fine, dude. I can do it from my phone. Do you want me to call him from the phone?
I think, do you want to do that?
Go for it. Well, we have plenty to show.
Yeah,
and
we'll start putting stuff up with everybody, and then when you get here, and we'll be able to see your gorgeous.
Well, I'll just do it right now. Give me 1 sec. I think I just have to hit the StreamYard thing, right?
Yes. Yep. But then we'll wait till you get your other.
Wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
No worries. There's a lot. I know tech is rough, and when it goes well, it's really fantastic, and when it doesn't, it is just insane. I'm
wondering though, like wildly, it's gonna end up being something really simple and stupid, and I'll be like, really? Tomorrow I'll be like, that I was what?
I know. Well, yeah.
Okay, so
Lila and I have had plenty of times where I'm
coming in now on my
things.
phone.
Okay, good.
Oh, wait, I have to type my name in first. Okay, there we go.
All right,
we're switching you over.
Okay,
there she is. This is going to be better if you are okay with a smaller screen. I think that's nicer for everybody to see.
I agree. Hang on. I'm getting feedback because the laptop.
Okay. So, yep, we see you. Okay. So just for, we have been working on this now for about 45 minutes, just for, we're really sorry. This is the way it happens sometimes. But we are so excited to welcome our dear, intrepid, independent journalist who, you've been here before. We also show video of you all the time as you are getting, shot with less lethals by cops, as you're having your fingers, damn near amputated. And we're glad to see you in one piece. How are you?
I'm in one piece. My finger actually that you mentioned it is kind of still jacked up though from the last thing. I have a little bit of scar tissue. It's healed more or less on the top, like there's no cut there, but there's like a whole like
to protect and serve.
Yeah.
LA's finest.
Is there any possibility of knowing who did that and tracking them down and suing them? Is that an option?
Oh, I know. We know who did it. Yeah. I mean, well, okay. So no, let me clarify that. The exact individual, no, but the 7 or 8 officers that were there doing that, yes. And so, yeah, and actually, if you want to talk about that, I just got a copy of the motion of the preliminary injunction. So the LAPD did send out, the chief did send out today a notice that they're not allowed to be doing this to journalists. And until they've had the training, they're not allowed to be at protests. And that they have to follow not only the First Amendment, but the state law 4097, which is our California state law governing freedom of press freedom, protection, whatnot. So,
but didn't they already pass an injunction like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so that was 2 weeks ago. So this was the chief today, basically sending out his order.
Hey, finally, pay attention, people, right?
A strongly worded letter.
So before they had put it just on their website, and the officers were supposed to read it, and that just didn't happen, obviously. I mean, when you have 10,000 LAPD officers or whatever it is, there's a lot of officers, right? How do you, unless you force them, not all of them are going to do it. And I got to be honest with you, every time I see, not every time, but a lot of the time when I see officers that are doing this stuff, you go to their social media profiles and they're like dyed-in-the-wool hardcore Trump supporters, MAGA supporters. And I do think that's part of the equation, right? So these are guys that are like kind of probably going along with Trump's idea that it's all fake news. Journalists are all the bad guys. We need to, get rid of the journalists. That's been an ongoing sort of rhetoric with that group. And I do think it's part and parcel to the problem, because it's not every single officer that's out there doing it, but the ones that do it are pretty rough. Anyway.
Well, obviously they've been massively emboldened by this administration.
Oh my God. Like, I mean, what's happening right now is really disturbing. All of this time, these guys have been complaining about cancel culture. They're saying they're free speech absolutists. They don't want, Twitter telling them they can or cannot say something, all of this stuff. Like, we've listened to that for years. And right now we're looking at very serious First Amendment infractions, like grave ones. Before, like Twitter, that's a private corporation. This is not a First Amendment issue. If Twitter wants to suspend your account because you said something hateful, they can do that. That is Twitter's right to do, as they have also free speech, right? So these guys were talking about sort of free speech free from consequence. They don't want it. Anybody else has the same thing. But now we're looking at a situation, for example, with Jimmy Kimmel, where you literally have Trump telling the FCC, this is the government itself, telling the FCC, pull ABC's license if he doesn't stop saying, and he didn't even say anything that terrible, really. Like,
no, he said the 2 things that he did was he said, it looks like the killer is one of theirs, MAGA. They're trying to deny it. And I still have questions about that. There's this push.
100%.
Right?
Listen, I think it's one of theirs? Yes. Given the references on.
Yeah. We're going to get into that. Yeah. So either he's one of theirs or he's not, but whatever. Like, there was a Fox guy who said, we're just going to give lethal injections to homeless people the other day. And he just made an apology and whatever. So like, they can lie or say hateful things all the time. And then the other thing, though, that I think is really the crux of it is that he made fun of Trump's response to the death of his dear friend, which was like, I'm doing fine, but did you see my new rose garden? Making a
ball. Yeah, I'm going to build the new ballroom. Yeah, that was pretty weird. It was like a sort of kind of but something that a narcissist would do, right? And I think Trump is definitely a narcissist. But
yeah.
But as far as the media sphere is concerned, I think that what you brought up about the Kilmeade was this guy's name?
Kilmeade, yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that clip. That was really disturbing. He's basically like saying, kill them all. Eugenics, terrorist act, what? I don't know. It's much more egregious than anything we've heard about Charlie Kirk. And the way that they're sort of whitewashing who Charlie Kirk was is also super problematic. And I'm realizing, I had a conversation with somebody a couple days ago that had read my piece, and they're like, I had no idea about any of that, and I'm really disturbed now. I thought he was just some nice Christian boy.
Yeah.
So if people don't know, they're not told, they're not exposed to that information, they have a different view of this kid, right? He was just a nice Christian boy.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
wrong with these people losing their minds?
I really want to get into this. So let's just first, I just want to thank Big Dumb Animal. Loves it when I have to say it out loud because I hate insulting, but thank you and cheers. And yes, we're all trying to stay away from the news, but thank you for being here for this collab. We really appreciate it. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of the timeline. We were discussing it last night and why it's giving people across both sides of the aisle a lot of pause, right? I went back and I looked because last week, a week and a day ago, Wednesday was the day that Charlie KIRK was killed. The very next day, Nancy Grace on the 11th, early in the morning, it's some tranny, this is war, she's saying all these hateful things. Then, and they're like Groyper screenshots of Groyper chat rooms saying, I think he's one of ours. He's one of ours. Then later,
based on, maybe we should talk about that for a second.
Well,
His mom had made a post of saying he was being the meme, and the meme there was a photo of him in this.
Yes,
this is 100% Groyper meme, so there was a basis for that.
100%, yeah. And we showed that the mom taking the picture of him in his Halloween costume and what it was a reference to, all of that. Then there was a quick switch. So how Nancy Grace already was aware that there was some kind of trans connection to this when this was within the 33 hours where nobody knew, they had no leads, right? They arrested the guy in the middle of the place who was like, shoot me, kill me, it's me, whatever. And he was not. Then it turns out, it is a roommate who's trans. And now we
don't know that though.
But we don't know anything. All because every piece of evidence is questionable or it's been destroyed, or Kash Patel swears to us that there was a note that then they found, but then it was destroyed.
I would question
that.
Yeah,
they had a note.
Go ahead.
Oh, they had a note that is gone now, but they have forensic proof that it existed. Is the line we're getting from the FBI?
Okay, so I don't.
Okay. So,
but let's talk about the roommate situation. Like, here's another example, right? So you have one. They're saying they desperately want this individual to be trans. Like, this is for whatever reason.
They had already written their script.
They've already written their script. Absurd. So they desperately need that to be. So it's like, there was some meme going around actually the other day that made me chuckle, and it was a photo of Kash Patel, and it basically said, is there a trans guy anywhere? A friend of a friend or a friend? Like, it's not a thing because it's so absurd. And, even with that last high school shooter, who I think might have been trans, this person still had right-wing extremist viewpoints, right? That's not up for debate. So these things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. And what I would say about that is the most salient important thing to understand is it's his political ideology that's going to motivate an act of domestic terrorism, not his sexual preferences.
Thank you.
In the case where that could be true, that's still not going to be the driver of why somebody would do what they would do, right? And I think
but they really need that trans narrative has to win over the Netanyahu did it narrative, which is probably winning over now a little more, to be honest. And that's a pipeline to get MAGA folks to turn on MAGA, and couple that with Epstein, and you've got a lot of discontent that could head MAGA's way if it wasn't a leftist.
Okay, but that's just it though, Pat. So like, I've been saying this for months now to anybody that is an earshot that will listen to me. The leopard eating face part of this entire thing that we're in right now is going to be pretty devastating. So these folks, like, it's always it's not a crazy thing to say. It's always a right-wing extremist that engages in domestic terrorism, right? Because 99% of the time, and this isn't me. Sorry, that's my dog. I patient. This isn't me saying it. This is the FBI saying it. This is the FBI data. Hang on, they'll run outside in a second. The cat's in the yard.
And the ADL.
Yeah. So this is just what the data is. It's just a fact of the matter. So they are so desperate though to like get rid of that evidence that they've now been eliminating DOJ
Yeah.
any evidence from their website. So I
right-wing extremism. Yeah. Just Antifa are terrorists now.
They've been doing that for a while. There's a couple pieces that I have written that I had linked to DOJ press that are now been removed from the website.
Yep.
So this is something I've noticed. They want to try to change that narrative because they know it's true. And you can't tell me that Kash Patel, in the position that he is in now, doesn't know that. He's head of the FBI. So he's seen this data. So either he sobers up and comes to the reality of what is reality, right? Who's committing these crimes? Well, it's right-wing extremists every fucking time almost. Or you keep playing the game that he's playing now and you look like a fool. But I will tell you this. There are plenty of Telegram chat rooms full of right-wing extremists that don't like him, never liked him. And those are the guys that have been emboldened, that are still being emboldened by all of this rhetoric, right? And they are, I mean, like the times that, the Trump assassination attempts, these were right-wing extremists too, right? So anybody that automatically assumes, oh, they killed a GOP guy, so it must be a leftist, doesn't understand what's happening in the country right now at all. These are,
I agree with this so strongly. I'm so glad you're here. And I feel like what I'd love to do is have you start dissecting some of your article, because the ways that some of these cross, because when you and I first met or whatever, every time you and I hook up in person, which, and I've said this to people, Tina will be looking at her phone and just be like, oh my God, I just can't believe the things that I'm seeing. And I'm like, because she's reporting on another dark corner of the web with these awful child sexual assault and Nazi and all of these horrific things. But the common thread is white supremacy, even though a lot of the participants are not white. And so that is the thing that I think when people hear, oh, he's trans, they're right away like, oh, well, then he must be left. No, what are you talking? That's crazy. Caitlyn Jenner comes to mind. But yeah.
So if I could impart anything to anybody, it's what you're saying right now, that this is true. I know it's superficially, it's going to feel that way, right? If they hold this set of beliefs, they must be this kind of person.
Right.
Or if you are deeply connected to any sort of identity politics, this might be hard to digest, right?
Right.
But people are complex, much more complex than most want to admit to. And no group is a monolith, right? So I would bring up the Solomon Henderson shooting that happened a couple months back. This here was a Black individual that was identifying with neo-Nazi ideology. If you have any interest in reading about that, I did a piece on Unicorn Riot for that. But this guy was radicalized by this Ukrainian nationalist who's mainly operated in Russia. This group MKY, murder maniac cult. These are the various names that they've called themselves, but hardcore Nazis, right? And this is a Black kid that got sucked into these sort of nihilistic right-wing extremist circles and just kept digesting that stuff to the point where he hated himself and went out and killed himself and others, in response to that. And this is something that is happening in every country, right? It's not just the United States.
Look at how many Jewish Israelis are actually anti-Semitic. They truly are. The way they treat Holocaust survivors, the way they've wanted to separate themselves completely from the idea of a weak Jewish person who could have been so, traumatized or whatever, victimized.
A lot of their neo-fascist ideology, right? So individuals that are not part of the white community, quote unquote, can absolutely be radicalized into these environments, right? Yeah. And we are seeing this in a way that I'm 54. I've never seen such a thing in my lifetime, right? We've always had a Nazi problem, but this is different. This is, this sort of a accelerationist viewpoints. And I want to add that there's on the way to that end game where you get to that point, right? The end part where you're an absolute nihilistic person, where suicides on the table, murders on the table, all of those things, right? Total misanthrope, right? That's what's the
misanthrope.
Yes, thank you. I'm like, what word am I looking for here? So on the way there, there's stops that you make along the way, right?
Right.
And what Walker and I were trying to get at is that Charlie KIRK was a stop. He was a gateway to those things, right? And so some of the things, for example, that I showed in the piece were screenshots of neo-Nazis on Telegram, basically telling their crew to go out and recruit at Charlie KIRK's events. Nathan D'Amigo. This is something I've done in the past. Nathan D'Amigo, who was the founder of Identity Europa, one of the main planners for the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, like
Right.
a hardcore Nazi, right? This guy basically.
This is, yeah, sorry. Yeah. To go
No,
follow him.
Screenshot of that. I used that one because I thought it was really going to drive the point home. He was telling his guys to go to the Charlie Kirk events. He listed them like, here are these 7 events.
Yeah.
Recruit. I've been to them a few times. People recognize me there. Well, of course they do, because mixed in that crowd, right, of these sort of like post alt-right kids that are like, hey, I'm so cool. I'm like wearing my MAGA hat. You know, there's that whole clout chasing environment that is happening there.
Yep.
There are these more hardcore guys, and you can easily get sucked in further down, you know, the pike this way. And so part of the conversation that some people are having that sort of do research in this area is like, could this shooter possibly be one of these kids that got more radicalized and decided that Charlie Kirk wasn't quite hateful enough?
Okay, so this is what I'd love for you to explain to people, and I think you laid it out so well in your article, but it's more interesting to have you say the words. So Charlie Kirk, white supremacist, Christian nationalist.
Yeah.
Then there's the groypers and the noticers. Can you kind of like...
Okay. Yeah. So noticing, let me talk about that for a second, because I think that is something that has gotten like zero media attention, but it's something that I've paid attention to for a long time. So I'm going to take you back for a second to like 2017. There was this guy that started this list on 4chan he called himself the Noticer, right? That was the name. And he started making lists of Jewish people, right? So it would be, this is the person's name. Here are the social media profiles. In some instances, here's their home address. Here's some of their, you know, viewpoints. Like it was, but the point of this entire list, and it kept going like way into the thousands. This went on into. It was a target list. It was a list for harassment, right? That's why the media posts were there. So this started on 4chan. It ended up on Telegram, and this Telegram room just kept growing and growing and growing. But out of that, there became this whole sort of subculture of noticing, right? So you see this on Instagram. You will see it on Twitter. Yep. Anybody watching the show right now can log into their Twitter accounts, do hashtag noticing, and take a look at what comes up. What you're going to see is a lot of racist, anti-Semitic shit, right? So,
but one thing that's been crazy for me in this past, like I've just started noticing it in the past maybe 6 months, is a lot of very pro-Palestine accounts. You go down a few more posts on their, you know, under their timeline, and they have a lot of noticing. I'm just asking questions. It's just interesting that it's always the Jews. And so like there's a strange overlap there.
Oh, there's definitely an overlap there. So, I mean, we can talk about that too. I mean, here's the bottom line. Not everybody, like there are plenty of people that are against what Israel's doing, including Jewish folks, right? But there are also anti-Semitic people that are having a hard time today. Anyway, so this whole like noticing thing became a thing. Steve Saylor, who is this sort of pseudoscientist that likes to like, you know, trade in pseudoscience bullshit, like he says he's only looking at the data, but he's not, because all the data he uses is totally fucking wrong.
Right.
But he uses this terminology quite a bit, right? So this is a guy that writes for D-Day, white supremacist website, hangs out with Jared Taylor, whoever else, right? So I guess what I'm trying to get at is this whole noticing thing has been growing. It's quite large in that community. It doesn't get talked about a lot. I don't think a lot of like just normie people in the world would even understand that was part of what was happening, right? So but the reason they use it is they're saying like, hey man, I'm just noticing. I'm not being racist, not being anti-Semitic. It's like, look, noticing. Look, it's a black guy that did that. Just noticing. Oh, look, it's a Jewish guy that owns that. Just noticing.
Yep.
So, you know what I'm saying? So that's that whole culture there. So anyway, I remember when this happened, I was so appalled because I was like, man, Charlie Kirk's getting worse. He had Steve Saylor on his podcast to talk about noticing. And it was repugnant, right? But if you didn't know what they were saying, like what these things meant, like the noticing part, like this is just data, you wouldn't be able to sort of recognize this deeply.
Or like planting seeds in people, or like, oh, that's an interesting idea, when they've got a much bigger objective.
Right. It's like an inside joke and a meme. It's almost like the the Groyper
It's part
stuff.
of that meme culture. 100% is part of that meme culture. But but some random 18-year-old that has no idea is like, well, maybe that is the data. Shit, really? Like, you know what I'm saying? That, but which is the point of that, right? That is the point of the Charlie Kirks in the world.
Right.
And so, anybody, it's really been appalling to me to watch this play out over the last week and a half. Number one, it's appalling that he was killed. I don't think that needs to be said. I'm not down for any political violence.
Yes.
I think murder is okay to anyone, not even my enemies. Come on. Like, that's just, and I don't see anybody actually saying that. The right's trying to pretend that that's happening, but that's not actually happening. But, having said that, I see this entire ecosphere that's trying to erase a lot of Charlie Kirk's opinions that were really appalling opinions. They were extreme opinions. They were racist opinions. They were.
And one thing that I learned from your article, just in April, there was a shooter that was a TPUSA member.
Yes, that did happen.
Who killed two people in Florida, and that's not a part of this narrative that Charlie Kirk's
trans?
Sorry, I put my
right, but
yeah, no. So that wouldn't be the first time you've had a Turning Point USA associate do something violent. So that's been part of it. It's been part of the Groyper thing as well. I don't think people have been able to make those connections, because if you're only digesting cable news, like if that's your only steady diet of what you're digesting as far as news, you're not going to be exposed to this information at all. That's the problem, right? So, like this person saying to me, like, oh, I thought he was this nice Christian boy. And I'm like, was he though? What? Hang on 1 second. Will you guys
yeah, Tina brought her pup to pup.
Yeah. Well, I do think that's interesting. And like personally, that's why I've decided to watch more OAN, more Fox, listen to right-wing radio, just to hear, because their narrative is completely different than ours.
Yeah.
And a lot of people on the left learn about the right from CNN and MSNBC, not from the right itself. And what are they actually talking about? What's actually going on over there?
Yeah.
And Tina dives into a whole different realm than that. Even, the deep, nasty racists on the web are a next level, but you'll see the OANs and the Groypers and the Charlie Kirks sort of normalize those views and bring them into the mainstream centrist view for Republicans.
Yeah. I mean, they have so normalized the hateful rhetoric of Charlie Kirk and all of his followers. Like, oh, he's just asking questions. He's just talking. He's just freedom of speech. Yeah, sure. And by the way, I am a freedom of speech purist. Like I truly am, but he's a fucking racist and he was a despicable human being. So like both those things can be true. We don't need to protect speech we like. You protect the speech you hate.
Have you noticed this has never happened with anybody else? I don't understand why this particular individual became such a martyr for the cause. And part of it too that has me baffled is the Democratic leadership.
Jesus.
Why are we putting the flags at a half mast? That's something that's usually reserved for somebody
disgusting.
It's just weird.
Disgusting.
They just passed a resolution today to name October 14th National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk.
Unanimously voted on by the Senate, by the way.
Every Democrat.
I don't understand it. Well, I mean, are they just politically afraid of standing up to anybody on this? But also, why? I don't know.
I think, they keep talking about him as a movement leader, and clearly he was, right? He delivered young people to the Republican Party. And I think as he was starting to notice things about Israel and AIPAC.
That again.
What'd you say?
You're never going to be able to say that again without, what just happened?
Oh, no. I think that was deeply concerning. And it, another reason, in addition to all the weird timeline of evidence, the weird rollout of evidence, the evidence that doesn't totally make sense, is also this, like, the rush, which makes it feel like it was pre-planned. I'm not saying, but like that this is our martyr. He was a movement leader, flags at half mast, Remembrance Day, people getting fired all over the place, universities turning in their professors. Like, it has happened
His
so
show
quickly.
Literally getting replaced by Ben Shapiro, the extreme right pro-Israel stance, when Charlie's last pivot was against Israel right before he was killed.
Ben Shapiro has now taken over that show. the Daily Wire or something.
Following that arc, I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting. Well, they were also, all of them were sort of like veering for that spot. That was the thing that Jimmy Kimmel said that was really true, and also kind of made me chuckle, because in between all the sniping that they've been doing, they're all looking to like take that spot, right? Like I know Steven Crowder had changed his Twitter bio, right? So it used to say I was the #2 conservative, whatever host, whatever. He's now changed it to #1.
Yeah.
I mean, so like,
Yeah.
call me a cynic, but come on, man. This is just grifter, right-wing grifter culture stuff being played out. And it's really insanely pathetic that so many people are sort of onboarding to this whole hysteria that's surrounded it. I mean, what happened? Like when did the Minnesota, for example, lawmakers were killed? Nobody cried over that.
No.
On the same day that Charlie Kirk was killed, there was this horrible.
There was a school shooting that day.
Yeah.
And the other thing with the Minnesota shooters, like we haven't heard about anything else with them. Like that just got completely silenced. The one action that was asked was Tim Walz said, we're not going to do no King Day, because there was supposed to be a mass protest on Trump's birthday. It was the No King's Day, which whatever, some lib thing, whatever. But I mean, there were other protesters who were also there. That was the one ask, was no more protesting. Like, wait, like we're just caving to them every opportunity we get.
Weird.
National holiday time. We're gonna get rid of MLK from all the textbooks, and there'll be a whole section on Charlie Kirk for kids. That's what's coming.
Yeah. I mean, so, there was, what's his name, right after the election, there was Newsom who had Charlie Kirk on. Then there was, right after Charlie Kirk was killed, there was Klein, what's his name? Ezra Klein in the New York Times, doing politics the right way. Like, what is happening?
I honestly, the only thing I can go back to is that I don't think people really know who this guy was. Like, I just don't think it was discussed enough. Wired incidentally had a good piece on it, if anyone wants to pick up that article too. I just think people just didn't know. And it's really tragic. And here's the other thing. How many times did they get the markings on these stupid bullets and got whatever wrong? Like, if you work in mainstream media and you don't understand what you're looking at, go find somebody that does, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Because it took those of us that are in this world, it took us 2 seconds to see what that was. I was like, these are not anti-fascist markings. What are these morons talking about? Like,
okay, so there have been a lot of explainers online trying to explain the difference between like the Charlie Kirk movement and the Groypers, and the idea that one is like nihilism and like kind of shit posting, or like explain. Yeah.
Okay, so whoever is saying the Groyper movement is nihilistic is entirely wrong.
Okay.
Groypers are not nihilists, okay? Nihilists are the accelerationists, the misanthropes that I'm talking about. These are the guys that are actually going to go out and do acts of domestic terrorism. Like the kids, a lot of them in 764, No Lives Matter. These guys, those are nihilists, right?
And they're not Groypers.
No, Groypers are compared to these guys. Groypers are just your garden variety fascists. They don't want to kill themselves. They don't want to destroy the government per se and have anarchy. What they want is to replace our government with a white nationalist state.
Right.
And there is a big difference between that and nihilism. So I have seen some liberals on Blue Sky trying to say that these guys are nihilistic, and I'm like, you're wrong. They're not. That's not accurate.
I mean, they want to annihilate us, but they're not. They're not overall annihilistic. Yeah.
They don't want a democracy, right? So these guys, Nick Fuentes is incredibly anti-Semitic, always has been. I think that's pretty standard knowledge, but no, they don't. They want a white nationalist country. They don't. Like the NVEs, the nihilistic violent extremists, these guys are way further out there. I mean, I don't see Nick Fuentes and his guys like committing suicide and taking people out with them anytime soon.
Right.
I mean, so do you see the difference?
Yeah, I do. So is that, but when you talk about like the gateway, is like Nick Fuentes and Groypers what is the path for some of these people, and what is your guess? Like, because then I would like to talk about I want to talk about your article also, but also Ken Klippenstein's article.
I'd say so. There's the academic part of that would be how does somebody become a terrorist, right?
Right.
So you start off like you were right. I have a grievance with the government. I'm going to do the normal things that people do to try to get that grievance addressed, right? So
Right.
I'm going to contact my mayor or my council person, whatever.
Right.
I'm going to write letters. I'm going to go to a protest. And each time you do these things, your grievance doesn't get addressed, right? And you get angry. So you come back around, and each time you're doing something else, doesn't get addressed. So this is like a cycle where you still have a grievance that might, in some worlds, might be legitimate, in other worlds, not so much, depends. But as you go through that process, you get more radicalized each turn of the screw. And now you're going to add to that getting involved with like-minded individuals, right? So maybe you didn't start out as a racist guy, but now that this grievance hasn't been addressed, you're blaming brown and black folks for whatever this thing is.
Right.
And you're not getting relief from the government, so you're getting angry at the government. You know what I'm saying? So there's a whole process that happens. And that's why I'm calling this sort of like a pipeline, right? So these are stops along the way. How do you get there, right? So, maybe you started out with just listening to Charlie Kirk, or just being sort of whatever, one of these kids that is just entering college, exploring his world, getting connected with maybe some guys that are just misogynistic and, whatever.
Right.
You start listening to podcasts, you start reading things, and some of it maybe appeals to you, right? And each time you find the next podcast, it's a more extreme podcast. Next thing you know, you're in some Telegram room, and now they're like just way more racist, right? And now everybody's saying, well, like, I'm a clout chaser. Look how cool I am. I've got this Nazi thing going on.
Right.
And now they're all going to like extremist clout up the next guy, right? That's part of this whole entire environment. And I don't know, next thing you know, you're like, okay, now I'm going to get invited to this private chat room. What are they talking about in here? Oh, there's an older guy in here that's like making pipe bombs. Oh, he's like publishing material on, Nazi material and guides to like making, other things. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of things like that I've seen like that in these rooms. And some of these kids are more susceptible to it, unfortunately. Right. And they are all kids. And I'm point something out. These are all people under 25 that we're talking about doing these. And it's every week we have a new one, right? We had another one in Florida.
Yep.
All of it, it turns out being, a right-wing extremist viewpoints, political.
Yeah. So what you're saying makes sense to me because, having followed the Groypers for a little bit, and particularly Nick Fuentes, I can see how somebody would go from Charlie Kirk, who's, they're selling you on the Republican Party. And then you're like, well, the Republican Party isn't the answer. So Charlie Kirk isn't the answer. So I got to go to the next step. And the next step is Nick Fuentes for a lot of these people.
Right. And then they keep going, right? Ryan Sanchez, Nathan D'Amigo, Pool House, the Blood Tribe. Like, I mean, you can go down to each, or if you're a kid, maybe you're getting involved with like, the No Lives Matter movement in some way. So No Lives Matter, like that was originally like this sort of thing that was related to, MKU, right? So this neo-Nazi Ukrainian national Russian group that I was originally talking about. Right. They've been very influential in right-wing youth circles here in the United States and in Europe, unfortunately. Some of the 764 kids were involved with some MKU. One of the kids that I wrote about in my original 764 piece, he murdered this Jewish woman just to get into MKU for no reason. Like, he just walked up to her, pushed her down the stairs. And I remember when I saw the video, I didn't think it was real. I thought it was staged. Right. Because I couldn't wrap my head around a 15-year-old kid doing this, right? I'm like, that's staged. They like gore. That's just fake blood. This is like some gore thing. Yeah. And when I found out it was real, I was just stunned, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how do you get to that place, right? And I also think some of these kids are coming from environments where they're troubled. They maybe, don't have a sense of belonging. Maybe they don't have. Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is, maybe the fact that his parents were hard right, like very religious, maybe they didn't accept the fact that he was in a romantic relationship with his roommate. I don't know what, nobody knows what's true about anything, but like that sense of shame and like being devalued by your own family.
Possibly. And you never know what that's like, right? Although it does seem like a lot of these kids do come from okay families, at least from the outside. It's not a given, but there's definitely something missing
Yeah.
inside of them. You don't go full misanthrope without having something leading you there.
No.
Yeah.
You know,
But also these kids, they don't have much of a life, and some of them are they're living online so much, and there's so much cultural stuff to look and say, society fucking hates me, they're doing nothing for me. And then you find this room where the most extreme person gets the most clout. You see it rewarded by your peers that you never had peers before.
Never had peers before. I'm getting attention. I'm getting love. I'm getting like some sort of belonging. Like they're all big into e-sex too. Like they're not, I mean, it would be healthy if they went out and touched grass or had some sort of life offline, but they are terminally online kids, 100%. That is definitely part of it.
Okay. So I have a question because so right away, of course, it was this like, the left are evil. They've been after us. It's a war on the left. And we all who had been, following this and seeing those rooms that he was already part of, the Groyper stuff, his family had come to a different conclusion, which, by the way, a lot of like even Nancy Mace, she quickly was like, oh, we have to accept him and pray for him. Like when she thought that maybe he was a right-wing person, right? But then they were like, oh, he's in a relationship with his trans roommate. So now he's a leftist, which that's not a necessary consequence.
That's even like established though. Like the photo I saw where they're trying to say this, the roommate's trans. I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like, are you guys just jumping leaps again over? Like, I don't even know that that's true.
But because there was this huge like push, and then also there is a huge push now, like the dark web and social media. We have to have a crackdown on speech and social media, which feeds into the whole pro-Palestine. Like as soon as there were so many protests and kids were seeing reality on their phones through social media and TikTok, the ADL right away was like, we have to shut this shit down.
Yeah, but okay, so that's the problem, right? Is that what they want to shut down isn't what's driving the problem at all. They're turning it into let's shut down the speech of my perceived political enemies because they can't do the bare minimum reflection on the environments that they've helped to create.
Yep.
Well, I don't think they don't care. They don't care at all, in my opinion, about the violent environment. No. It's just about free speech on Palestine. And the economic impact as well that we're all suffering, Oh, they want healthcare. They want the minimum wage. They're getting replaced by AI and robots. They're going to complain a lot. Let's just dial down the complaint meter.
All that stuff too. All those grievances you're talking about are feeding into that too, right? Like people have legitimate beefs, right?
Yeah,
they do. Like so you can understand how somebody gets down that pipeline to begin with. I mean, our government has sort of disconnected from providing anything of value for a lot of people for a long time, right? So, like part of what I like to mention sometimes when I'm talking about this stuff is, I would call this the third wave of the patriot movement, right? So the first wave happened during World War II, right? You had Christian Front, which was very similar to some of the stuff we're seeing today. You had immigrant quotas that were very harsh, right? The reason that Israel even exists is because nobody would take in Jewish refugees. I mean, that's part of the conversation too, right? So that was the first wave, was everything that there was an attempted coup, right? Smedley or yeah. Anyway, so then I would say the second wave is, what birthed Timothy McVeigh and what he did, right? We had similar earmarks, right?
Right.
But both of these sequences also has something that was sort of undergirding it, and that had to do with economic situations, right? Timothy McVeigh and a lot of the people that were part of the Covenant Sword Arm of the Lord or the Order were farmers that had lost everything, right? So they, Reagan had decided he wasn't going to support the farmers, and that sort of set off a chain reaction.
Right.
So all of these things are associated, right? So now we're in what I'm calling the third wave. You have similar economic beefs, right? Massive income inequality. Our kids can't afford to go to college because it's just too expensive now. They can't, find reasonable rent, let alone buy a house. Like we can go, I mean, I don't have to, your audience knows what all these things are.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, okay. So what I wanted to come back to is, I don't know if either one of you had a chance to read the Ken Klippenstein article, which was, he says he got some Discord chat room printouts from friends who the alleged killer had in real life, Tyler Robinson, and they actually were friendly in real life. They did hang out. They had social groups. The texts that, or whatever chats that he shares are fairly kind and nice and civil. And I think my feeling reading that, because I think what he was trying to do was make it not right or left. We're not going to blame the right. We're not going to blame the left. I don't think this is a left problem. I think it is a far right problem, but I also think it's a liberal capitalism problem. Like, I think there's a lot that has fed into the state of our country. But what he did in that article was kind of make it seem like this was just a nice kid and who knows why he did it. It seemed like he did have a loving relationship with his roommate and his friends. And I feel like, okay, but you only got like some printouts of his experience. He was a 2-year-old guy. Like, that's not enough. But I think it's coming from his thing of trying to like tone down the rhetoric.
Nobody goes out and assassinates or murders somebody without some sort of motivation. I don't know what that is at this point. I really don't. I don't think anybody does, because it's not clear.
It's that Netanyahu wanted to shut Charlie KIRK up.
But also, some of these extremists know their positions are extreme, and so they're going to hide that portion of their life. You know, so we can find out that he was in.
Groups. Yeah,
exactly.
Let me say that's generally not the case, though, with people that do acts of terrorism. Most of the time, there is a manifesto. And normally they will publish a manifesto like 2 or 3 hours before they go out and do whatever thing they're going to do. So this is, I will say this is not usual as far as the dynamic you would normally see play out. So I don't know.
It is so unusual. I mean, truly, there's just way too many things that are not making sense. And it doesn't help that we have, the most inept, corrupt administration and podcast bros who are heads of whole agencies who like, it's not helping anything. And then the rush to lionize this guy.
No, it's unfortunate. The right before the week before this happened, I don't know if anybody caught this, but some of the veteran FBI agents who had been there, working domestic terrorism, been in supervisory positions, really good agents, were fired by the DOJ, were fired by the Trump administration, and they're now suing in response, which I think is the right.
In Utah. You mean the ones in Utah? Or do you mean just overall?
Not just in Utah.
Okay. Because there was in Utah also, which is kind of crazy.
And that was probably racially motivated, it sounded like, from what I could see.
Right.
But there was a loss of talent at both the DOJ and FBI that has happened because of the Trump politicizing or trying to politicize both of these organizations. I think they've been somewhat successful. The Department of Justice is entirely politicized at this point. It's unfortunate. And that is also leading to why this is feels like such a Keystone Cop sort of situation, right? Like, who knows what is actually known and is not being disclosed because Kash Patel doesn't want it out in the world. I think that's part of the conversation. I think anybody that doesn't think that is probably not paying attention. I mean, this was both him and the other guy, I can't think of his name right now, were very politicized.
Bongino?
Yeah. I mean, these were guys that were weekly saying that Trump won the election. Release the J6ers, people that prosecuted the J6ers, and now they're running the show at the expense of veteran agents that would normally be in those positions.
Yeah.
And like diverting the attention away from, domestic terrorism, which is something that they would have focused on, and other things like immigration, which makes zero sense. Really, the taco stand guy is more like scary to you at this point than the kid that's making a pipe bomb in a room of other guys planning something. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, so that's the other thing. And that's where, I tend to focus only on the party of opposition, because I know that the right is hateful and, is trying to curb all of our liberties and steal our money. And then the party of opposition is mostly kind of just helping it along. Like, we would not have what's happening now if we hadn't seen kids' heads busted to pieces by cops being called in by the Democratic mayor of Los Angeles and New York, who were protesting a genocide under Joe Biden, right? So and then when you see the normalization of somebody like Charlie KIRK, and then when you see what's his name get fired after a very tepid joke.
That's the thing. I was and
then you have Chris Hayes. Did you see this? Chris Hayes says, "This is the most straightforward attack on free speech from state actors I've ever seen in my life, and it's not even close. He's talking about the firing of Jimmy Kimmel.
I agree, because it was motivated by the government. That's what folks need to understand. This wasn't just ABC acting. The FCC threatened to pull their license. Like,
yes.
This is truly a First Amendment attack. When people complain in the past about First Amendment attacks, they were never First Amendment attacks, right? So they're just talking about being censored by another corporation. First Amendment is this is an agreement that you have with the United States government, right? We're going to protect your free speech. We're going to protect freedom of the press.
But like, what about when the Biden administration said to the New York Times, there will be no discussion of a ceasefire. We're not calling this a genocide. We are relabeling Hamas a terrorist group. Like, well, like that is also, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think journalists should be able to
on free speech. I would call that the New York Times doing the bidding of a political person that they agree with. I don't think that's the
but
same.
all these media groups are selling us out, though, for
I'm not
because of capitalism. I mean,
I agree.
Both groups, two of the major groups settled cases that they had slam dunks against Trump.
I agree. I'm going to go.
It's just economically.
Pat, I'm going to go even further back, because here's the thing. I strongly believe we wouldn't be here today if Fox News didn't exist. The worst thing that's happened to this country is Fox News. People that only watch Fox News are not well informed. And not only that, they're constantly intaking really hateful rhetoric that's more and more extreme by the day. And this has been going on for, well over a decade, 2 decades. So in my opinion, the media has definitely played a role in this, and I am not excusing it. It is really problematic. And it really is because that we changed what governed media. We became for-profit entities looking, to make money, looking to get clicks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And this is where I will come back. Sorry, but I'm going to keep banging this drum to liberals, because in 1983, 50 companies controlled 90% of the U.S. media market. That number is now down to 5.
Right.
The Telecom Act of 1996 reduced the FCC regulations.
Yep.
And guess who was president in 1996?
Yeah,
that was,
that was Clinton. Yeah, but it happened before that under Reagan. Reagan got rid of the fairness doctrine, so it wasn't.
And Carter. Sorry, but like Carter also
But it's been a bipartisan project.
Yeah. It's a bipartisan project. That is. It has been a bipartisan, and this idea that news is a public good, a public service, has gone by the wayside. And honestly, I believe strongly that that's what we need to get back to. We cannot, this idea that democracy dies in the darkness, the patient's on the table, people. And we have to look at how we got here. And part of how we got here is because of the shit media's been engaging in too. Like there's no one clean here. Our democracy is on the table. It is dying. And it's being attacked by so many fronts right now that I just don't even know how you stop it, quite frankly.
Well, that was because I know we've already been doing this for an hour. What is the solution? Because we've got, as Josie's saying, as we've said, like, you've got Chris Hayes speaking up more for a comedian who actually laughed when Trump was kicked off Twitter. Like, Jimmy Kimmel thought that was awesome, that a leader of the, he was the ex-president at that point, kicked off Twitter, was laughing about that. And now he's more upset about that. I have not heard him have that same sort of level of oh my God, what are we doing? Like, college kids who are being doxxed, who are being rounded up, who are being deported for protesting a genocide has gotten less attention from some of these people than the firing of a late night host.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't have a solution. I don't mean to be like the doomer over here, but
that's my job.
This is always my solution every night at 5.
As I sit here watching this thing move faster than I thought it would, quite frankly,
I agree.
It's giving me whiplash. I don't have much hope for our democracy right now. I don't mean to be the doomer here, but I really don't. I don't know how you unwind it at this point. We are in a very bad space.
I can't remember who wrote this, but we've all expressed it in different ways. But of course, a party that doesn't fight against genocide is not going to be able to fight against Trump and the takeover of capitalism. Like we
Right.
don't have those people in power.
No, not at all. Lila, here's the other thing. Like I'm a big fan of More Perfect Union. I like that from them there earlier. They do these great little mini documentaries.
Yeah.
I'm always flummoxed by how many individuals that they're talking to that can pinpoint the problems, right? This is my complaint, and they're all legitimate complaints, income issues,
right,
et cetera, et cetera. And then the guy's like, and you voted for Trump. And they can't seem to connect the dot. Like you're so close. You're so close. You know, why were people sort of sucked into this idea that he was going to fix or change anything is just beyond belief to me, because he is part of the plutonymy. He always has been.
Yeah.
He was never.
I think at least he was giving it.
But the Democrats were attacking the only person on the left saying that message, which was Bernie. So that's why. I mean.
But I don't see. Okay, I see what you're saying, Pat. But I don't think that's logical. How do you go from supporting Bernie Sanders to Trump? That's insane. They're like
it's not logical. It's emotional, because you're like you have emotional instances of them going after Bernie, not fighting for you. At least Trump points to somebody who's the problem. It's a false analogy. It's a false demon. You're demonizing the wrong people.
Yeah.
But at least it's like, hey, there's someone to blame. There's a problem I can fix. Democrats are just like, we're not him, which never.
Yeah. And the
you'll never
economy
win
is
over
great.
independence with that.
The economy is great, and we're going to give you a $25,000 credit.
I know. When they say the economy is great, I just want to rip my hair out. It's just like, really? Like, I mean, sure, if you're looking at top line numbers, but like there's a difference. Like you could say, so we have 10. What's the average of 10, right? It's 5. Okay, well, there's more than one way to get to 5. Is it 10 and 1, or is it 5 and 5, or is it 6 and 4, right? So those are all very different pictures that are being painted.
Yeah.
But they're all 10, right?
Yeah.
And so
GDP and the stock market don't reflect our level, our standard of living at all.
Like the top 1% has the 9 and everybody else has the 1, and we're at 10. That is like sort of where we're at, right? And so but they want to treat this like it's like 5 and 5 or some shit, but that's just not the case. I don't know.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't have as hard a time blaming people. I mean, I don't think anybody should vote for corruption or genocide. So like if you voted for Kamala or Biden, or you voted for Trump, that's just not my deal. Like I think I have a hard time moralizing about somebody else's vote.
I'm not moralizing.
No, I'm not talking. I'm just saying, like, I think people do things emotionally. Like people could look past a genocide and be like, but she's better. And I think people can look past Trump's racism and had thought, well, but at least he's going to give us our jobs, right? Like it's all lies.
That was never going to happen. This is the thing I don't understand. And believe me, I'm not defending Kamala Harris right now.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I literally hear people say like Trump would be better on Palestine, and I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind if you believe that. He will be worse. Yeah. And like all of the metrics where I said he will be worse, he is so much worse than I even thought he would be. We are in a very dire place right now. And, then you hear the argument from some people like, okay, well, maybe that's okay. We're ripping the Band-Aid off.
No.
So we can replace it. My thing is this, is like, if people stop and reflected on that for a second, this was always my worry too, is like, what comes next, folks? Like, I get what you're saying. I'm not happy with any of this stuff either, but whatever government comes next isn't going to be an improvement. It's going to be a fascist fucking dictatorship.
But it's not being challenged at all by the party of opposition. And that's the problem, right? Like, even if Kamala had won, I think it just would have like pushed this off for 4 more years, because she's not fighting it. And even when Trump first got in, like Democrats could have spoken up. They could have taken a stronger stand. And instead they threw trans people under the bus.
It's been terrible. They've thrown all kinds of people. And now we have Gavin Newsom, like he's platforming Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk and all these guys. And then he's saying, I'm fighting the Republicans. Look how hard I'm fighting him. I'm like, what?
He's just continuing Kirk's legacy. That's what we're supposed to do.
His statement on that was really atrocious. I have to be honest with you. I was like, Gavin, that's bad even for you. Like, you're not even recognizing. I mean, some of the anti-Semitic.
Well, he did a whole
like, God,
his whole first podcast was fawning over him and how much his own kid loves him. How are you a good leader if you're the goddamn governor of the opposition party in the 4th biggest economy in the world, and your kid loves a fucking Nazi like Kirk?
I mean, he's definitely not a good dad if his kid likes to.
Yeah, but
like,
what
he's an
your
awful
leadership
leader, but you're also
is
like not a good dad.
trash.
Can you imagine admitting
I
that in public? Like, my kid loves you.
This is who we are. It is who we are. It is who we are. It's who we always been. I agree with you, Kitty. My thing though is I'm not anymore. I'm a doomer now, but I've generally been like hope springs eternal. Like I'm the person that's always been like, make something of it. Yeah, but we can make something of it. We can change this stuff. Like we can move towards, a more perfect union. Right. And
Right.
At this point, I feel so defeated. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel the same way. I think we all do. It's really frustrating. And to see, when you were talking about like the pipeline that leads people into that despair, and like we're all feeling that despair, right? And we're all feeling like, well, these were the things that we were told we could do in a democracy. You can vote, you write to your leaders, you get out there, you protest, and nothing's worked. And the truth is, like, most of the people in our country are not that far apart on some of the biggest issues, right? Like, I think about that, and I talk about it all the time, but that Fox town hall that Bernie did in 2019 or 2020, he got a standing ovation.
Yep.
And they're like, socialist. He says the different policies, and people are like, yeah, right. And the same with the genocide. Most people in this country are against what's happening, which is all obviously what is frightening the people in leadership, which is why we're getting all these cop cities and all that, because they have left us no other option. You cannot vote your way out of this. You can't write letters to the editor. You can't, like, they're shutting down town halls. Sorry.
And I think the important part is they're 10 steps ahead of us because they know their actions are causing this problem. So we need to increase the police force, and we need to shut down little First Amendment rights. We need to start getting AI. AI has to start scrubbing podcast videos for hateful thoughts so that we won't be on the air anymore soon. That kind of thing. They know they need more of that, or we're going to fucking get pissed and rally up to arms and burn the Capitol down or something.
Why they're talking about putting the bans on social media, because as bad as there are some horrible things about social media, just like there are horrible things about meeting up at the mall sometimes or whatever. Like, things can happen that are awful in secret when people are, but also there's some really powerful things. My deprogramming on what I thought Israel is because primarily I had access to knowledge in a way that I didn't before, right?
Correct.
And that's what they don't want us building community and movement in that way.
Right. No, I don't disagree with that.
It's very frustrating and scary.
I just don't know. I don't know how you unring the bell. I feel like we've traveled so far. I think the point that the moment where we had a chance to fix this stuff was Bernie Sanders 2016. I think that was...
Yep. I agree.
That was crossing a point of no return that just sort of shot us towards this trajectory that we're on right now in so many ways, I think.
Here's another crazy thing to me is with all of this, like, you've got Tucker Carlson coming out talking about First Amendment and hate speech, and he brings up a tweet from what's his face, Charlie KIRK, like that he also is a free speech absolutist while he's making lists of professors who are too left that he doesn't like whatever. But it's ridiculous. But he's saying that. You've got Karl Rove talking about that, we need to keep free speech. That's a primary tenet of being in the US. Like, these awful people
of democracy. Without it, there's like literally we're so far gone it's not even funny. Because then, I mean, that's part of the whole thing about why Trump is saying Antifa is a terrorist organization, right? This is insane nonsense. There is no Antifa organization. This organization doesn't exist. That's ridiculous, right?
It's so dumb.
But it allows Trump the ability to just like say, they're my enemies, they're all Antifa, right? So let's charge him with, some DT offense or something like that.
Yep.
That is where that is headed. It's insane, but here we are.
Yeah. So, but the thing that does worry me a little bit, though, is that the loudest people right now who have big followings are like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and for a very different reason from me, but it speaks out against the Israeli genocide before in a different way, but before some Democrats. You've got, people not espousing free speech in the way they should be, even when it's hateful, especially when it's hateful. That's the whole point.
what happened to that guy? He's supposed to be the biggest libertarian on the planet. All of a sudden, he's like, no, we should do something about what people are. I'm like, what? That
Wait,
flash. Rand Paul, did you see this?
I did. Wait, because he went back on it, or he's for it now.
Yeah,
he's all over the place.
Yeah, he's all right. Fair, he's all over the place.
No, but will you tell me which thing you're talking about? Because I missed it when you said it.
I saw it earlier today where he was making some sort of statement about, doing something about all these Charlie Kirk haters and shit. And I'm like,
oh, that he wants to take action against them.
That's how it sounded to me, girl.
Wow.
Maybe Pat can look this up real quick to make sure I'm not cray-cray, but
I mean, he says, yeah. But so I guess a little bit my fear is that just like how Trump gives voice or gave voice, now he doesn't even care, but gave voice to people who were, against NAFTA, who had lost their jobs, who were upset. He was like, I'm going to be the peace president. I'm going to end the Ukraine-Russia proxy war, like all this stuff, while the other side has more nuance, doesn't say it, is, like all of that sort of thing. And then, but of course, that's not their end objective, has nothing to do with my political project, right? But because they're loud and they're echoing at least like morsels of what people are feeling and are frustrated about, the party of opposition, whoever it is, has got to get louder, be more strident, be more militant about their words and their methods, because just saying we're gonna enshrine Charlie Kirk while all these other horrific things are happening, like, what's the focus?
There is no focus. I don't even think they need to be more militant or strong with words. Words aren't gonna. They need to start doing things, taking some action.
Shut down the government.
I think
no, hang on. Why haven't we expanded the Supreme Court in response to these very politicized appointments that we have on there? There are things that they can be doing that they're not doing to counter some of this stuff. And I was kind of upset at the beginning of the year because I kept waiting for the outgoing administration to put some training wheels on the government, knowing what was coming towards us. And they weren't doing that. Anybody that's been paying attention knew this shit was eventually going to happen. It's happening much faster than I thought it would. I mean, we're not even a year in here, and it's like, put a pitchfork in it.
But 99% of it, they literally don't care because it makes their job easier as the opposition. They can run against, look how fucking bad things were for the last 4 years. That's it. We're at such a low point.
So much worse now, though. It's so much worse now.
But Tina, to your point, the other thing they did, knowing that they can't win in perpetuity, is hand off even bigger budgets to cops, to ICE, to private prisons.
I know.
They set up the system.
Started on ICE and the Biden administration. What we're seeing now is part and parcel to a lot of things that the Democrats supported in the past. There's no two ways about it. So, I mean, now it's just more unpleasant because we have masked up dudes kidnapping random brown people on the street. And that is what they're doing. I've seen it firsthand.
It's horrific.
These criminals, they are not targeted. They are literally like, oh, there's a brown guy. Let's go grab him. That's how bad it is.
Well, speaking of brown guys, as that's going on.
But did somebody freeze? Pat?
I don't know.
I'm just sitting back. Go ahead.
Pat, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, speaking of brown guys.
Well, speaking of brown guys, as all this is going on with ICE, the number one thing Democrats are seeing is fighting against Mamdani. They're fighting against the hope.
Wait, Pat, what are you talking about? Because I mean, I see that he's going to be deported now, but what do you mean they're fighting against Mamdani? Sorry, Mamdani. I thought you were saying Mahmoud Khalil, who now, because fucking Chuck Schumer was like, we all have to go in vacation and let all of the federal judges go. Every single federal judge basically.
I just can't with him. I can't with Chuck Schumer. I can't.
Yeah. No, but you're right. With the Mamdani thing, it's disgusting.
Well, what I was trying to say is, look, if you're looking for hope within the electoral politics system, and it's not going to be just us protesting and fighting, the number one at risk of dying tomorrow guy is Mamdani, because he's the glimmer of hope that could show good things are possible, at least for New York, which could show other states good things are possible, And they don't want that because then they'd have to support these good things we want. So Democrats are most aggressively fighting him of all the people targets they could choose.
Which is insane. I think he might persevere anyway. There's a lot of popularity. I think people are done. They want guys like that. And, you know, and like wildly, how did we get, I mean, I know how we got, I'm saying this rhetorically, how did we get from a place where FDR was the standard bearer for the Democratic Party to where, I mean, it's like crazy, right?
I'm going to go back and thank the Clintons again for ushering.
Oh yeah, 100%. Third way. It was third way. Yeah. You know, you're not wrong.
It's
you know,
so
and part of that was, I think they were, at that point in time, they had a choice to make, right? So the unions were getting decimated. There was lesser union membership, and unions had always been a big part of the Democratic Party base, right? And so when the Clintons came in, was instead of choosing to fight harder to like grow the unions again in the face of what they were doing, they're like, oh, this is more easy picking fruit here if we just like, you know, grab money from Wall Street. I mean, these are people that more or less basically feel the same way we do about social issues. That's fine, right? So there was a whole shift in thinking about all of that stuff. Yeah.
It's capitalism. I mean, and that's why liberalism is a right wing. What?
The quote you just put up, the one away, was perfect. We'll pick up.
Oh yeah, exactly. Wait, I'm going to go back to it. Yeah, that was their that was their strategy. Was that Schumer who said that also? Right? Yeah.
I think it was Chuck Schumer that said it. Yeah, and that they still believe that. That's what kills me. That is obviously not.
It doesn't matter how many times they lose doing it. They will trot around with Liz Cheney because what they their idea of success, their business model isn't predicated on winning elections. It is that like the texts and the donations and all of those PAC schemes, and they get all the grannies who are like, I just need something to change. Here's another $10, Adam Schiff. They do not care about changing policy. They don't care about the working class. They're fascist light. I mean, that they look what they've like their big three success stories of the 21st century are a Republican healthcare project, the Heritage Foundation, Obamacare,
right,
giving the reins of power to Trump twice and starting a genocide. So like that's the Democrats. That's not a party of opposition.
No, it's definitely not. Is there something wrong with my camera again?
Yeah, we're not seeing you.
Yeah.
On my phone, I see me. That is so weird. What's happening now? They're out to get me.
They are out to get you. I'm sure that you've got an Israeli VPN, or did you just see in all Galaxy phones there's some like Israeli spyware that was a default in everybody's phone, and even if you turn it off, there's like the backdoor tentacles that have gotten in. I mean, we need to get rid of all of our electronic stuff.
Well, I've always been super paranoid about my electronics anyway, so I don't use Google ever.
Yeah, people duck, but yeah. All right, Tina, we're gonna wrap it up at this point because it's been so long. Your article was great. Everybody should go read it. It's Tina and Walker Bragman wrote this article. I need to put my readers on to get the exact title. This is, oh my gosh, where are they? Here they are. It's a great article that gives you a real look with links into all of these crazy backroom, white supremacist, right-wing extremism, rewriting extremism, right-wing seeks nation to mourn Charlie Kirk. The other thing, just before we tell people where they can find you, I just think this is so funny, and I hope you don't mind that I'm sharing a text between the two of us.
No, I don't.
So just so everybody knows, the three of us are friends in real life. Like we have got to see each other. Pat lives in Sacramento, but Tina and I are both in Los Angeles, so we get to see each other in real life a lot more. This was like a week ago. Oh, you can't even see it. It's a girl. I can't talk right now. I'm part of an FBI riot. And then she sends a link to some of the footage she takes of getting shot at, and she's like, "Drinks tomorrow night, maybe." It just
not FBI, DHS.
But that one, well, all right, I'm just saying you wrote FBI, but it's just so funny to me that you are doing these things that are terrifying and so courageous. You're reporting on the ground with these fascists like lobbing, like hurting you, shooting at you, the smoke, whatever, the tear gas, all the stuff. And then, but like in the midst of it, you're still like, do you want to see if maybe we get drinks tomorrow? Which I think is the only hope we all have.
You know what Jordan said to me the other day that was kind of hilarious, that I was chuckling over, and he might have a point. He's like, you and John have extremitis. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you are so used to so many things and you just don't realize how insane they are. And I'm like, you might have a point, actually.
I do think there might be like it's like extreme sport.
Hey, Josh.
Josh.
I'm looking at all these. Yes. Oh, okay. Miss all you guys. It's been a minute since I've seen you all.
I know. We need to. Okay. All right. Tell everybody where they can find you, please.
Really the only social media I'm using at this point is Blue Sky. So you can find me over there.
And you're still reporting for Status Coup also.
Yes. And then District 34 is my YouTube channel where just about everything goes that's related to California or LA. So, I mean, sometimes this is stuff that I don't necessarily, Status Coup doesn't want, it's too small maybe or something.
Right.
But yeah.
All politics is local.
All politics is local, baby. You know it. But there's just, there's been a lot going on here lately. I think things have been a little bit better in a way. Just to close, things have been a little bit better in a way. We won our preliminary injunction against the DHS as well.
Right.
Do we have 5 minutes to talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead. Of course.
So the ACLU was able to lump in journalists, legal observers, and protesters into the same lawsuit, which is unusual. But I have to tell you, so I went to the hearing with Judge Vera sitting in the court, and I was kind of blown away because the DHS attorney at one point actually said to the judge, I don't know what, I'm paraphrasing here, I don't know what the exact words were, obviously, but something to the effect of, I don't know what Ms. Berg is talking about. No DHS agents were ever pointing guns at her or anybody else. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, what is this guy talking about? There's footage of this.
Yeah.
This is not up for debate. It happened. There's footage of it.
Yeah. I mean, what?
Like, this is just a fact of the matter. Like, what world are we living in where this guy is going to go in front of the federal judge and make a claim like that? And I remember one of the attorneys basically saying to me, like, the judge has the footage, he'll see it. So, but I'm just like, but I'm more kind of blown away that the environment is such that this guy went into a court and just full blown
denied that.
Yeah. I mean, just like, what is happening here? Like, that's wild. And then, one of the other things they mentioned to me was that, all of the good prosecutors that had been there that were reasonable people, et cetera, were left. They just gutted out, right? They either left or were fired. And this is what we're left with, these sort of politicized weirdos that live so far into their little echo chambers that they think that this is a smart and reasonable defense move. It's like, really? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It doesn't instill a ton of confidence, but.
No, it does not.
All right. Well, thank you. And we didn't even get to talk about your chickens, as Josh says, but we want to hear all about them because that is, I feel like when we talked about like a parallel, economy, that is where it's headed. We need to
trade your chickens for some electrical work. We'll make it happen.
That's right.
I will trade eggs for anybody that has lemons, figs, things of this nature.
I have lots of lemons, a few figs, and tons of peaches that do not get ripe.
Peaches. I need my hands on those peaches.
All right. Come on over. All right. We'll talk offline. You're awesome. Have a great night. Thank you for hanging with us, even though you were having technical stuff.
I don't know what's happening, and I don't know why I'm looking at my screen and the camera's still working on my phone. I don't know why it's not working on you. I don't know.
All right. Well, you're a beast. We love you.
Well, love you guys too.
Miss you, Tina. We'll see you soon. Hopefully.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
So I know that was, I'm sure, so frustrating for her not to be able to like see everything that she was doing, but thank you. It's amazing. That's a really good article, and all of her journalism on these extreme right online, Discord, Telegram channels. it's really terrifying. And she didn't say it this time, but she says it to me all the time, is if you have kids, don't let them play Roblox. So I'll put that little piece of advice out there, but or at least monitor it really heavily, because there's a lot of grooming that goes on there.
Yeah. No, anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Let's wrap.
Yeah. All right, so that is it. Oh, also, we were supposed to have Shama Sawant on Sunday. She wrote today apologizing she can't make this Sunday. We have rescheduled for the following Sunday, but we will still have our regularly scheduled Sunday night shit show at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. And anything else to say, Pat?
Nope. Thank you, Tina. Love you. Appreciate all the work you do. And same with Status Quo.
Yeah.
And we will see everybody Sunday.
All right. Take care. Keep punching up. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.